Uh, Good morning, respected teachers and colleagues. I'm going to be presenting the case of a double conundrum in a failing heart. So, 8-month-old female child presented to us with a history of wheezing, tachypnea and diaphoresis during feeding since last 20 days. There was a preceding history of fever and LRTI 1 month back. The mother also reported occasional interrupted feedings and swallowing difficulties in the child that she encountered since birth. Birth weight was more or less normal and developmental milestones were normal as per age. Echocardiography was done at 2 months of age, which revealed a normal report. On physical examination, the weight was 6 kgs and height was 63 centimeter. Left-sided microtia and facial asymmetry was noted. The BP in the right upper limb was 89/44 and a systolic BP of 100 in the right lower limb. Patient was tachypneic with tachycardia, regular pulse, low volume. There was no organomegaly and abdominal examination, and chest auscultation revealed bilateral basal crepitations and V's. The CVS examination revealed a down and out apex with a S3 gallop rhythm and a pansystolic murmur radiating to the axilla. On the chest X-ray, we found that the trachea was not bent on either side and there was a concentric narrowing noted above the carina. ECG revealed sinus tachycardia with left ventricular hypertrophy and poor R-wave progression. In the blood investigations, we found that there was significantly raised NT-proBNP, CRP, TROP-I was positive, and viral serology came out to be positive for parvovirus B19 IgG and DNA. Echocardiography revealed situs solitus levocardia, D-loop, normal AV, VA concordance and normally rated great arteries. There was no shunt lesion present. There was very poor LV systolic function and moderate MR present. The LV cavity was dilated with normal wall thickness. The cavity was dilated up to 9 Z squares, severely diminished LV systolic function with an EF of 22%. There was no LV outflow tract obstruction. The coronaries were normal in origin, caliber and course. A subcostal view of the LV outflow tract revealed a bifurcation of the ascending aorta at quite a distance from the aortic valve plane into right and left arch. Echo image in longitudinal suprasternal section with the probe pointing at 11 o'clock showed a right aortic arch giving rise to the right subclavian and common carotid arteries, and the probe pointing at 1 o'clock showed a left arch giving rise to the left subclavian and common carotid arteries. In the 3-vessel and tracheal view, we found both arches on both sides of the trachea running backward and downward, connecting with the descending aorta enclosing the trachea and esophagus to form an O-shaped vascular ring. A narrowing was noted in the left arch post-subclavian origin, but there was no significant gradient noted across. An echocardiographic image in cross-sectional suprasternal view showed ascending aorta bifurcation into right and left arches and simultaneous identification of the 4 brachiocephalic vessels, the 4-vessel sign, which was characteristic of a double aortic arch. Next, we proceeded with the CT aortogram. Both right and left aortic arches were present encircling the trachea and esophagus. The right arch was larger than the left arch and gave rise to the right common carotid and subclavian, and left arch gave rise to the left common carotid and subclavian artery. Narrowing was noted at the left arch just after origin of left subclavian. The branches of the aorta in both subclavian and common carotid appeared normal in caliber, course and enhancement. Based on a provisional diagnosis of myocarditis in view of recent onset deterioration of cardiac function following a viral prodrome, increased inflammatory markers, cardiac troponin and positive viral serology, we put the patient on medical management of diuretics, digoxin, enalapril and beta blockers. Then we started the patient on IVIG, 2 gram per kg over a duration of 48 hours. On day 7 after IVIG infusion, repeat echo showed recovery of EF up to 40 to 45% with improvement of symptoms of tachypnea, wheezing and congestion. Inflammatory markers also showed decreasing trend. Patient was kept on guideline-directed medical therapy with diuretics, beta blockers, AC inhibitors and spironolactone. Since patient was more or less asymptomatic for arch anomaly, we plan to keep the patient on follow-up. Now, the incidence of dilated cardiomyopathy in children is around 0.57 per 1 lakh population and more common in boys than girls. In 66% of cases, it has been found to be idiopathic. A considerable number of cases present in infants, 3.8 per 1 lakh cases every year. The usual causes are inflammation of the myocardium, genetic causes and neuromuscular diseases. The evidence of viral myocarditis is quite common in children with DCM, parvovirus, influenza, EBV, human immunodeficiency virus, Coxsackie, all have been found. However, despite a deep search for the etiologies of DCM, including recent advances, most cases are designated as idiopathic. Anomalous origin of left coronary from the pulmonary trunk must be ruled out, as it is a rare cause of left ventricular dysfunction in infants. Treatment of myocarditis depends on the severity of presentation and stage of illness. It can start from oral heart failure medication to initiation of inotropes and can go up to mechanical circulatory support in patients refractory to medical treatment. Both IVIG and steroids have been found to treat myocarditis, and various studies have reported improvement of ejection fraction with IVIG. Now, aortic arch malformations account for 1% of cardiovascular congenital anomalies. The double arch anomaly is the most common cause and accounts for 40 to 50% of symptomatic vascular rings. It is mainly due to the persistence of the distal portion of the right dorsal aorta. And it can be difficult to diagnose because the symptoms are not typical of a cardiac disorder. They mainly cause respiratory symptoms like stridor, chronic cough, and digestive dysphagia symptoms. This congenital vascular anomaly can be isolated finding or associated with other malformations like TOF, VSD, PDA, pulmonary atresia. Double aortic arch found as an incidental association with DCM is an extremely rare finding, and there has been only one reported case in an adult patient. CT scan with three-dimensional reconstruction is the investigation of choice, and surgical repair remains the mainstay of treatment in symptomatic patients. Thank you.